Mario Party, the series all your friends are excited to play until someone has their entire life savings switched in a chance time on the last turn to that one botted friend with 0 stars and 3 coins. My first review on this channel is a review of Super Mario Party released in October 2018, and it's the closest I think I've ever been to covering something actually relevant in a timely manner. Pikmin 4 video coming soon, guys! Back then, the Nintendo Switch was in its infancy, and up until this point, the Mario Party series had been in a disgusting state of rot. Before that, however, there was a little studio named Hudson Soft that released Mario Party for the Nintendo 64 on December 18th, 1998. If you somehow don't know, Mario Party is like a board game video game where 4 players roll a die and move around a board, collecting coins to buy stars to determine a winner. But it uses its medium to do a whole lot more than just any old board game actually could. I don't see Monopoly giving you hand blisters. Over the next 10 years, Mario Party thrived across the Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, and DS with near yearly releases. It truly shone with its vast array of minigames played at the end of every turn, combined with the weird and creative board mechanics that make for some of the most unpredictable and unique strategy across each and every minigame, board, and full game release. But the series fell into a state of repetition. New entries, despite attempts at decent spiced up changes, started to feel stale and even rushed in a case like Mario Party 8. Enter the dark age of Mario Party, where Hudson Soft slowly collapsed, plenty of employees moved over to the now Nintendo subsidiary Nintendo Cube, formerly ND Cube, and what was left of Hudson was absorbed by Konami. So development of the series naturally transferred over to Nintendo Cube. And with a new developer and no new release in years, what better time to take the series in a brand new revolutionary direction that would change everything for the next decade? What if we made Mario Party, but bad? Yeah! If we had the gift of hindsight seeing what Nintendo Cube would shart out with Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Mario Party 10, and Mario Party the Top 100, I wouldn't trust them to cook microwave popcorn. Now for the special ingredient. Across this dark age, beginning with Mario Party 9's release in 2012, the quality minigames of the series stayed the same, but one of the most consistently overlooked aspects of Mario Party was the board gameplay. The reason you play the minigames. You're 3 spaces from the star, 1 turn ahead of your friend, but they've got the coins for it and you don't. So you have to win this minigame to take the match. There was a reason to play them, a reason to care, and the hilarity would follow after you won the minigame and then rolled a 2. This was the fun of Mario Party, but it was all changed, whether it was with really shit bland boards in the 3DS titles, or linear boards where players are restricted to moving alongside the entire group in a death car. The series was looking for a refresh, and admittedly, I kind of liked Mario Party 9 as a standalone experience doing just that. But that's just it, it feels worthless doing it again in another game with 10, or even replaying Mario Party 9 itself. There's no freedom with the boards for things to be very different each time at all. So back on Super Mario Party, this was the game that promised a refresh of the series and returned to those original roots of the Hudson Soft classic era Mario Parties, whilst still aiming to try to increase the longevity of the formula. In my original review of Super Mario Party, I gave it praise for returning freedom back to the players and their movement, and that was about it. Yeah, I wasn't the best reviewer back then, and I overlooked some major issues that have revealed themselves over time. There's a reason I've barely ever gone back to this game since it released. Firstly, the boards are crap. They all feel the same. All boards except the last are just a cluster of loops you go around on very blocky maps. Womp's Domino Ruins, a board that gives a few branching parts or loops that you can get trapped in or can use to farm resources. There's a cool boulder bit in here, but this board feels very cramped overall. King Bob-omb's Powderkeg Mine, probably the best board here, with more branching parts and some cool board events with the Shungite mines, this little bro who lowers your rolls, and a King Bob-omb counter in the center to blow up players' coins when it hits 0. Megafruit Paradise is like if Castration was a Mario Party board. Even Baby Lachie knew this board was some hot garbage. It has some random events and shit, but I can't pretend to care. If the star is on the other half of the board that you're not on, you need to land on a specific happening space to get to it. You can go turns on turns on turns without f***ing getting it. It has good music though, I guess. Kamek's Tantalizing Tower is the most linear of the boards. It has a fluctuating star price from 5 to 15, which is a nice idea to try and time when you're going to make a rush to the end, but since all the gameplay is focused so much on getting to the end the fastest over and over, this really brings the flaws of movement in this game to light, where the highest you can roll on a regular dice block is a 6. This decision to lower dice blocks to a maximum of 6 instead of 10 was likely done because of how tiny the boards are. And there are only 4 of them? Whether it was because of restricted development time or resources or what, I don't know, but aside from making sure there's f***all gameplay variety in the boards, it affects everything else too. If I roll less than a 5 in regular Mario Party, I consider that a pretty shit roll, which now happens 2/3 of the time. And as further consequence of all this, as I mentioned before, it's so hard to make it to a star crawling at a snail's pace. That's probably why they made stars cost 10 coins instead of the usual 20, because they actually want you to be able to get to them after what feels like a 20-kilometer hike. But the economy in this game is completely f***ed as well. You get pity coins for not winning minigames for some reason, and since stars only cost 10 coins, you can hoard so many of them. And in a controversial move on Nintendo's part, they seem to have added organ harvesting and reselling to the black market. At least that's the only reason I can assume why Koopa has this many coins at the end of a 10-turn game. This is all just because there are way too many coins dumped into circulation, because that'll fix this game, guys. It worked for Germany after World War I, and just like Germany, everything becomes worthless when there are this many coins, especially stars, because the problem with stars taking forever to walk towards is completely negated by something I've neglected to mention. You see, there is a way to completely take over this anarchist collapse of a Mario Party game. Luck. Yes, luck is core to Mario Party, but it should have a balance of luck and control. Otherwise, there's no point in playing the damn game lest it play itself. What better introduction for the ally system? These are new spaces on the board called ally spaces, which reward you with a random ally that will give you their unique character dice block alongside a +1 or 2 to your roll every turn. So if you farm these guys, holy shit, will you just annihilate the lobby with your stash of 6 trillion unmarked coins. It's a guaranteed +4 every roll if you have 4 of them, and usually higher than that. On top of this, we bring in the character exclusive dice blocks that introduces a meta to Mario Party. Man, I just want to play Luigi. These are unique blocks that you can choose on your turn instead of the regular 1 to 6, and attempt to average your rollout to something balanced, like Shy Guy with 5 4s and 1 0, or DK with 4 0s and 2 10s. This can be pretty fun on its own, but if you combine your already insane possible +8 from doing nothing with the 4 allies you've accrued, with the massive possible rolls of some of these blocks, the balancing of the blocks goes out the window. Because no, you won't be getting a 0 on a bad roll, you'll get anywhere from a 4 to an 8, and on a successful roll, up to 18 with no items. You can consistently do this and just hold the entire lobby hostage because stars are so damn cheap and coins are so plentiful. And on top of all this, to add insult to injury, you can get not 1 but 2 bonus stars for getting allies. 1 for the most allies and 1 for the right ally. What does that even mean? Oh, I see. It's probably here because Drybone's got Koopa. That is a pretty perfect ally, actually. So basically, the game has really tiny, bland boards and barely any gameplay because you can barely move anywhere without allies. But it's okay, guys. It's all going to be fixed by the character dice box and the ally system, like fixing a broken arm with a shotgun. Look, this game isn't all bad though. At least this was an attempt at a real Mario Party, and there is a semblance of what was good about it in the first place. There's at least some freedom in the board movement, and if you use the items and star stealing chances, it can lead to some tense moments. About as tense as bingo night at the aged care home, but still tense. And hey, at least the minigames here are really solid too. They've added a practice screen on the rules menu between minigames, no separate menu at all this time, and you can play it until all players say that they're ready, which is so good to get the hang of a minigame super quickly. You can almost always rely on Mario Party to have some solid minigames, so there aren't really too many complaints from me in this regard, other than the necessity of Joy-Cons due to a ton of motion controls. I don't hate motion controls at all, really. No, the real problem is these f***ers. I swear every single pair I own is broken with Joy-Con drift. Looking to the side modes of the game quickly, it becomes even clearer that resources were spread thin in an effort to try and push any kind of new direction for this series. To skim them quickly, River Survival pits you and up to 3 friends rowing down the river to try to navigate obstacles and reach the end, broken up quite jarringly by co-op minigames. They're fun and chaotic like the other minigames, but in a different way, trying to cheer your squad on this time. But there are only a few of these games, so you'll see everything this mode has to offer pretty quickly. There are also some dedicated rhythm minigames in the soundstage, which are also pretty fun to compete in against your friends, offering a more fast-paced experience than the base game, but again, you've seen everything here pretty quickly. Oh, and the online mode offered for a majority of the game's life was locked to a minigame mode only, and was a laggy, horrific mess. Overall, Super Mario Party was a refreshing return on its release, but has since aged pretty damn badly as a core Mario Party experience. It does the job in a social setting with other nonsense going on around you, but as a game, like one where you're dedicated to sitting down just to play it, maybe in its fully online mode they added very late in the game's lifespan, it gets boring quick. It can be a slog if you play for longer than 10 turns. And any more than 10, the coin counts get f***ing ridiculous, and the allies spawning around the board become a real issue. But 10 turns isn't very meaty at all. I want a game with some high stakes because I've sunken so much into the game. A game with insane long cons across the whole match. A game where everything can go hilariously wrong at the last minute. This game is an alright step into recovering Mario Party. At least the death car's gone, but old Mario Party was still pretty dead. So why not dig up the corpse? Released in October of 2021, Mario Party Superstars aim to bring back the old Mario Party. Super Mario Party, earlier in 2021, randomly received full online integration with the core gameplay for seemingly no reason. Months later, I think we knew it was just a test for the real return to Mario Party tradition. Nintendo Cube, still not used to that, realized, crap, maybe we don't quite know what we're doing trying to bring old Mario Party back, so let's really bring old Mario Party back. Literally. We give up, you can have your damn old Mario Party, okay? Ha! How do you like that? Thank you, Nintendo Cube. And so, Mario Party Superstars remakes the classic Mario Party experience from the N64 games, Mario Parties 1 through 3, by remaking a bunch of old boards from them and returning over 100 minigames from across Mario Parties 1 through 10. Broadly, first of all, this is a great game. It does everything it set out to do right and brings back a sense of balance to the Mario Party franchise. Finally! Starting off with the boards, I'll just go one by one through them again. But fair warning, this board selection may start a bit rocky. It might be one of the rockiest parts of this game, honestly. Yoshi's Tropical Island from Mario Party 1. I don't really care for this one. You go around in 2 loops with Thwomp Paytolls blocking entry to each, where the star keeps swapping sides. I just find this one very dull with very little choices to be made. It's not even that it's simple in its freedom, it very much feels like it has none. I'd say even less than a lot of the Super Mario Party boards. Spaceland from Mario Party 2. Talk about a polar opposite, but it just feels so empty. The most interesting mechanic on this board is the center, where if you step away from it enough times, it shoots out a giant laser that steals all of your coins. Kinda brutal, but I kinda love it. But most of the time on this board, you can't get anywhere, because anytime you land on these fuckers, or someone pays them while passing, you get sent straight backwards. All around the outside of this board. It's terrible. It barely feels like there's anything to work towards on this board, just utter madness out of your control altogether. So if I don't get to have fun, no one does. Peach's Birthday Cake from Mario Party 1. I like this one a decent bit. The main attraction here is star and coin stealing from happening spaces. It feels like a game of Monopoly with these traps laid out to send your friends into a rage. Woody Woods from Mario Party 3, I'd say is the pretty solid second best board in the game. It basically just consists of a bunch of flipping signs every turn, players can manipulate them as well as a bunch of other stuff on the board too. You've got the trees that give you coins or dice movements, or even take away coins or dice movements with the evil tree. The Koopa banks that tax you until someone lands on the space to take all of it, and just a whole bunch of split parts and extra skeleton key doors. It's a board that really allows a whole lot of decisions, and thus a vastly different game each time you play. Horrorland from Mario Party 2 is such a damn good board. The whole gimmick is a day-night cycle that changes all the things you can do on the map. Certain boos activate at night and day that let you steal coins and even stars for 50 coins, or you can visit King Boo, pay 150 coins and steal 1 star from each player, a method that's more difficult than it seems because 1, you need to pass by him at nighttime, and 2, you need a skeleton key to get past the door he's hiding behind. But it's so rage-inducing for your friends if you pull it off. I may or may not have done this a few times. It is hard to pull off in a short-turn game, but with a longer-turned one, it feels genuinely doable. Thus, it's great to see longer games actually encouraged. Back on Horrorland though, it has so many cool choices and factors to mess with, influenced all by players, pure luck, and timing with the day-night cycle. A fantastic board here. Overall, we've got a pretty damn wide spread of boards. Some real stinkers, and some really good ones. But the real reason the game thrives overall isn't just because of the board's specific basic mechanics, however. It's because of things like items, Koopa banks, 1 to 10 dice blocks returning. You actually get to do and control a ton of things in this game. But the game is also prime with opportunities for trolling, with plenty of stealing opportunities of piranha plants, booze, plunder chests, duel mini games. Yay, watching my girlfriend gamble 1 coin while I have to sit through it all. And of course the return of chance time. You can even manipulate chance time to your will. Although it can be damn hard, you can time some of it. And this isn't even mentioning how spoiled we are in this game with the raw minigame count. You can play this game for so long without repeat minigames with a good mix in there of fun, skill-based, luck, and shit minigames in there. And the best part about bringing these from older Mario Party games is that there are no motion controls required, and I can use a real controller. This all doesn't mean the game's perfect though. With those minigames, they brought back item minigames from the original Mario Parties, which have one person play an entire minigame just to earn another fucking skeleton key. It's a huge waste of time, but it is technically the old authentic Mario Party experience. Just goes to show we can still go up from here. There are some clear goals here to try and refocus the series with this game by going back to figure out what really worked, but as a result, they haven't really focused much on the side content. Sure, there are some small unlockables to mess around with and a cool little profile to customize, but there's basically nothing else other than the regular party and minigame mode. Which isn't a bad thing entirely, I don't care that much, but it is odd considering they only brought back 5 boards, none of which are uniquely made. That's like the bare minimum. Congrats, you beat Super Mario Party? I don't really give a shit though, because this was the game that lived off of its full online Mario Party mode. Join with up to 4 friends to seamlessly play as if you're in the room together. This made Mario Party so much more accessible to players and more popular online too. You can't really progress the series much further than this if the game didn't nail the online. And thank God it's finally taken that plunge because it's just as fun as everyone expected. Mario Party Superstars is a damn great party game that actually sustains itself really well because it focused up like this. But what would they learn from this game? Where does the series go next? Everyone thought they'd do DLC for it maybe, but nope. They decided instead they'd make Super Mario Party Jamboree, which I'm glad to say is that beloved formula finally not just thriving, but actually moving forward. They learned from Super Mario Party that they need to take a lot more care in the changes they make to this beloved formula, and they learned from Mario Party Superstars what makes that formula so chaotically fun and beloved in the first place. God, what the hell is wrong with these names though? Super Mario Party was the fully original, shaky revitalization of the series' classic formula. Then we have this game, Super Mario Party Jamboree, that barely feels like a sequel to that game in any way, other than branding a new era of Mario Party. Then we have the remake of the old N64 games called Mario Party Superstars to sort of try and fit in with this new era of Mario Parties, but also not because it's not really a new game. I mean, sure, whatever you gotta do, Nintendo, just give us more of this. Super Mario Party Jamboree, which I'm gonna call Jamboree or The Game from now on, is a fantastic package that had me hyped from the mere trailers. So where better to start than the traditional Mario Party mode? In general, the game looks better than ever, with a new dynamic camera and so many little extra details in the animations. This time, Jamboree attempts to introduce a whole slew of new ideas to the series formula it got from Superstars, first in tweaking a few things, like the item minigames occurring far less frequently to save time, but leaving most things, even including chance time. Yes, you can still time it and thus make it incredibly powerful, but there is still some risk along with that, like if you're as shit as I am. I love chance time, but maybe there should be a timer on this shit. They've also added a Homestretch event that is randomly or player selected with some really cool options in here to spice up the last few turns. One player receives a mushroom, a great choice. Jamboree also builds further on the solid item selection of Superstars, bringing in 38 items this time, which is crazy. I believe all of them return from Superstars, plus a bunch of board exclusive ones that really enhance the board play on 5 brand new original boards alongside 2 remastered ones. So why not fit a little mini ranking of the boards in here while I go over them as well? Goomba Lagoon is an original board for this game and my personal least favourite. It's your typical island-based board with restricted movement, and I never really like these ones. Admittedly, I played quite badly on this board, but when 2 turns can consist of being fully stranded or even having the star fully stranded, it kinda sucks. It's just a waiting game the whole time with so many options cut off every 2 turns. It really comes down to stockpiling as many movement items as possible, which is just objectively worse than other boards that do that and combine it with more interactive boards in the first place. Even worse yet, this board sells gold pipes at so many shops, essentially making moving and playing around the board meaningless altogether. I don't even hate a rare opportunity to buy or earn a gold pipe here or there, but give out too many and the gameplay just gets ridiculous. Luckily, none of the other boards give out anywhere close to this many. King Bowser's Keep, my sleep paralysis demon. At least for this one, I see the appeal. Bowser boards are designed for torturing the other players, and this one does it in a very unique way. It features a ton of Bowser spaces in the center with Imposter Bowser, not the real one because he's playable now, that build up over a game, with a conveyor that can change direction on an event space, or with a lever item. And it is just a cruel mechanic. But all the stolen loot from Imposter Bowser goes into a cage with a random code combination, which all adds up to a really unique blend of chaos. Wait, why does Imposter Bowser still have a turn after the end of the game? What the f is he playing? This board ends in one of two ways. One, no one has any stars and is depressed being stuck in the conveyor for forever if you don't perfectly plan out your route. My bad entering it on my first time playing with no movement items. My punishment is banishment for 9 turns. I was there for over an hour. Or two, one person soars ahead randomly because they can chain items and buddies together repeatedly, while the losers without items pay a costly price of countless stars over and over in hell, stuck in the loop with no way out with the people on the outside keeping them in. Is this a metaphor for capitalism? Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty unique blend of chaos in this board, but you basically resign yourself to the gods of fate once the Bowser spaces start piling in. It's fun until then, but you are constantly filtered through the center at every opportunity. The board does not let you avoid it, but you can sure try as you buy items to strategically move around it. That sounds fun. Avoid playing the board. But if you ever do end up nearby, it's RNG if you happen to get garbage rolls at crucial moments, and it's RNG whatever the roulette lands on, and it's RNG if Bowser says, "Fuck you, random guy in 3rd place," punches the fucking roulette, and takes a star. This means it can be very snowbally, with the people on the outside thriving, maybe opening the cage using booze, getting double stars with buddies, all while the people on the inside are juggled around like a human pinball machine. I'm not a fan. Sure, it's funny sometimes, but I feel like no one has any control in this mess. And is it funny for up to 3 hours? No! To calm down for a second, as I mentioned earlier, Jamboree has decided to reintroduce old classic boards alongside the new ones, with 2 classic boards in this game. I think this is a great idea as it gives a direct quality comparison as a standard for the new boards to abide by, and also just lets us play some old classics again, like Mario Kart's retro tracks, with tweaks to make them play much better too. I hope so badly they branch out to later entries and bring back Koopa's Tycoon Town. The first of our classic boards is Mario Party 1's Mario's Rainbow Castle, a much simpler board to return to. Nice and peaceful above the clouds. Oh, you're kidding me! Yeah, this board features Imposter Bowser once again, but in a much more controlled setting. I really like how the items are specifically curated to allow a lot of speed ups and slowing down depending on which character awaits you at the end of the small, linear path. There are also, of course, trap items to place, which add to the chaos of such a linear path. You can speed up or slow down with careful use of items, but nothing is guaranteed as the shop flips every time someone buys an item, and there are event spaces and junctions scattered everywhere to try and mix up the race to the end of the map, or the avoidance of it. I honestly had a blast on this map, but I do feel like there's not going to be much variance on a replay. I feel like you've seen everything this small board has to offer fairly quickly. Mega Wiggler's Tree Party is just the default board that shows off the main game's mechanics, and I can't really hate it for that. It's just some classic Mario Party fun, no real bullshit, a good selection of new items with traps, shop hop blocks, and some decent events with a dynamic shortcut at the center. I can't really complain much over this board. It's solid, but it doesn't really try to be much more than that. Roll'em Raceway was honestly more fun than I was expecting. This board features Mario Party, but in cars! No, not like— The whole gimmick is centered around zooming laps around the map at high speed, so at first it seems like a map centered around big lucky rolls. And it is a little bit, but there are a lot of elements actually in your control too. You don't want to go so fast you miss the star with the quadruple turbo dice because it skips board events, or get ran off the road by— The board incentivizes you to do high-speed laps with dice blocks sold at shops, or at the pit stop lane of the track for 10 coins to get a full inventory of them at the cost of not passing the lap counter. The more laps you do, the more coins you get each time you do another. 10 for 1, then 20 for 2, then 30 for 3. It could probably get really crazy with coin amounts given out there. It's ultimately a fairly simplistic board in its design, unfortunately, which is why I can't rate it any higher, with only 2 junctions available the whole time. I think the high-speed gimmick could have thrived even more if the board were a bit more complex. It tried something cool by flipping the direction of the event spaces and shops, and it is pretty cool, but it's all triggered by only 2 event spaces. It could have been triggered by using up the energy of a pit stop instead, taking a turn or 2 to flip back around and thus happening way more frequently than it does at the moment. Here's hoping we get another Mario Kart inspired board like this again in the future, and they don't just drop the idea outright. Now we return to the second of our classic Mario Party 64 boards with Mario Party 2's Western Land, a very beloved board. It's got loads of interactivity over such a massive board, with decisions to be made at every step of the way. It hosts a train around the perimeter of the board that can be sent forwards or backwards, taking players on board or sending the unlucky ones stranded on the tracks back to the start. It's a bit of a gamble to use the train though, because it could go either forward or back. Not to mention there are parts all over the center, with plenty of shops, 2 boos, and very helpful skeleton key doors. Overall, a damn solid board with a lot to play around with. Now, for the undisputed best board of the game, I've seen nothing but almost universal praise for this board, Rainbow Galleria, with a huge emphasis on shopping non-stop. The event spaces around this board mainly feature unique shops, with some very valuable ones at the top. The other events include a lottery with entries based on how many items you've bought on the board, or a Womp that'll steal your items and give you back double their worth. And of course there's a regular Koopa and Kamek shop as well. Not to mention, every 5 turns a flash sale happens for 1 turn, making everything on the board half off, including the star. It's such an exciting board constantly, with only 1 long stretch of spaces without a junction, with elevators and escalators to take you anywhere you could possibly want to go. It's a much more positive form of chaos than King Bowser's Keep, where anybody could use basically anything at any time because of the abundance and sheer variety of items thrown at you. The only criticism I can see is that long stretch of spaces on the side of the board does suck if you somehow end up there without any items, maybe through an unlucky pipe or not enough coins to take the elevator back down. Even though it costs like 5. I think if you've got less than 5 coins, you've got bigger problems. It genuinely feels so rare to get stuck up there, like you have to make a really bad mistake or gamble to end up there with no items to help escape, or take advantage of the events on that side of the board. You do have to be careful, which I kinda like, because there are golden pipes and boo bells all over there for very cheap or free. But if you do end up there very rarely by no fault of your own with no escape items, yeah, that can suck. Also, the Super Swap Mirror sold at the Super Shop for 15 coins was disgustingly broken when I abused it to go wherever the hell I wanted. It should cost a lot more than 15. Overall, the board is so fun. There's always a way to form and execute a plan every single time on the board with the amount of options you have. I'm so happy to say it's the best new Mario Party board in a long time. But honestly, I would play any of these boards in Jamboree if someone wanted to. Sure, I have my preferences, but they all have such unique ways to play that I wouldn't really mind. Maybe the bottom 2 aren't the best, but the game is so fun on its own anyway that even the bullshit on those boards can just give a laugh sometimes. Most of the ideas are so unique that I can understand why you'd like any of them. I'm just personally happy they've managed to design a whole slew of great new boards for us to enjoy. And here's my personal tier list of all the boards throughout this video, if you want to pause the video and see how they all fall into position after my reviews. Now there's something I neglected from my discussion of the core mechanics of Jamboree earlier, and that's because I think it'll transition us slowly into the not so amazing side of Jamboree. You see, it doesn't just pull from Superstars. This is the one thing it gets from Super Mario Party. The allies are back as Jamboree buddies. At the very least, Jamboree buddies are a much more balanced version of their original incarnation. They show up randomly on the board rather than on farmable spaces, and they will stay there for 3 turns. If someone passes them, they set off their unique minigame, where whoever wins gets the buddy. Sounds great honestly, a skill-based approach to getting the advantage that a buddy provides, which will be something unique to that character, alongside the ability to do almost anything twice. Buying stars, item shops, lucky spaces, boost deals, or Bowser spaces. There are ups and downs for obtaining them, but mostly ups. Overall, I do enjoy their presence in the game, Nintendo keep trying to innovate the old formula now that they've returned to it already. The minigames are usually quite fun, and they add a unique gameplay layer to this game. But that doesn't mean they don't come with their flaws. The first being, they are very difficult to balance, because 3 turns of being able to purchase 2 stars at once can be very broken, and can extend the winner's lead by a lot. This is countered by the ability to steal them by passing a player with a buddy on the board, which I've come around to understanding is a necessity. It's basically the only counterplay to them, lest the winner of the buddy minigame run off and cause unrecoverable chaos. That's a huge reason I dislike King Bowser's Keep. The guy on the outside has full free roam of them so long as the other players are trapped in conveyor hell. But what's also offered is an advantage to the player who stumbles across that buddy in their respective minigames. I mostly think the advantages given out to this player are good. They're not completely overbearing in most cases, and it's good when they aren't. Even if going for a buddy is your only chance at a comeback, I don't think it should be a completely free handout if you just get lucky enough to be near a buddy landing. But that extra bonus is good. Usually the other players can work together to catch up if that player getting a buddy is a really big issue. The odd advantage, however, is ridiculous, where DK gives you a gigantic timing advantage through the entirety of his minigame. Speaking of his minigame, my god, can the length of these games be tedious at times. As I said, I don't mind the buddy stealing as a necessity, but it's so annoying after you've sunk over 3 minutes fighting desperately to win one. I think the more varied minigames are plenty fun to compete in, like where you play a whole different set of games, but shit like the Donkey Kong and Waluigi ones are just grueling, especially when lag is involved in DKs. Yeah, go off King! This also leads me into the pacing of this game. The games are longer than my Johnson. He's actually not that long, but a 20-turn game can still take like 2.5 hours. And I think a lot of that comes from not only the buddy minigames, but them taking forever to do everything twice. And all these slow-ass animations and transitions for everything. And the slow movement. Like sure, it looks really cool and dynamic with the camera, but I don't need to see someone walking around for that long. I hate walking. Now the last thing to discuss about this mode is the minigames. And this is more a gripe with the marketing, not the actual game. They advertised over 100 minigames, more than Superstars had. While technically true, in reality, they're spread across all side modes of the game. So, when we remove all those, we have 78. Not too bad, but then you get to the motion minigames. For some damn reason, they require Joy-Cons, and that sucks because they're fucking Joy-Cons. It is nice that you can turn them off, but then you're left with a mere 63. Only 54 if you don't count the buddy minigames. 63 is not even that bad of a count, but it should easily add up to 78 because most, if not all of the motion minigames could be easily done with a Pro Controller. It has gyro controls in it. You're telling me you can't tilt a Pro Controller? I've seen people do it in Mario Kart when motion isn't even on. We are admittedly a bit spoiled with Superstars giving so many minigames overall. 63 is about the same as the classic era of Mario Party, but we got those games like every year back then. At the current rate, this might be what we're stuck with for 3 years, and that sucks. I play Mario Party so much more now because of the online multiplayer, but the minigames can get very repetitive very quickly if you play too much. The new voting system helps a lot, but it doesn't help the fact that the 1v3 minigames feel particularly terrible in this game. Like yeah, they're always unbalanced, but how the f am I meant to dodge a giant banzai bill 5 times in a row? Or what's the counter to this shit? Honestly though, none of these criticisms are that big of an issue. It just highlights some imperfections that sadly aren't likely to be patched out. The annoying part is, a patch to add some more minigames, adjusting the motion games to work with Pro Controllers, and a speed increase in the game's pacing and length would solve everything. Heck, they've added a Pro Rules category to Mario Party, which honestly seems like a lot of fun, but they've locked the turn count to a measly 12. I would love to play that if it had more turns. There are some great features in there, but ideally I think they should let us customize our own way to play with these features like item shop stocks, Bowser space functions, and turning the buddies on or off. But where an update like that might happen with most games, Mario Party never gets DLC. They just leave that all for a whole new game. As evident with this video, they do listen to feedback. Eventually, I think it's just delivered by carrier pigeon. As for the side modes, this is where those extra minigames went. Although I personally would rather, at least some of them, be dedicated to the Mario Party mode instead, the side content can be fun. Mainly Bowser's Kaboom Squad was a good bit of co-op fun, and the Koopathlon too. But there's a huge missed opportunity that you can't play with friends and randoms online at the same time. I don't want to play with even more bots. The single player party planner mode is also a neat idea. I like customizing the lobby area and the return of boss minigames, also available through battle minigames in the main mode. Mario Party has been in a mess trying to figure out how to give a big, exciting shake-up to the series, while still retaining what made it good in the first place. But they had to rewind a bit to figure out what that good actually was. Then they properly brought it all back in a really fun remake, and now they've done it with a brand new original game with even some new innovations for the series. Mario Party is inherently really hard to change and keep exciting without ruining what Mario Party is at its core, so I'm cautiously curious where they'll go next. Will it just be more great, amazing Mario Party that we love? Will they somehow manage to retain all that while adding something completely new and innovative? Does it need to? Or will it crash and burn in the attempt once more? Either way, I'm glad Mario Party Superstars wasn't a one-off, and that the series in all its rage-inducing glory is finally back. This is what Mario Party should be.
Man, I love you guys. Did you just steal all my stars?
Like nothing ever changed.
No!